After 1,000 years, the mists have finally cleared to reveal Albion, the land of myth and magic beyond the sea. Back in the old world, a king who rules...
Hey guys, Flaccid Baron here, and as many of you know, the test server has been updated with the Roads of Avalon update. Yes, we have all the new weapons. There's a new estimated market value thing that pops up on loot and in your inventory, which is amazing. Fiend, Hellion, and Demon all have different pictures, so they look a lot cooler. This is full Fiend, looks really cool. Full Demon also, and full Hellion. All of those have got new pictures and they look really cool. Also, sticky pots upgraded, so like, you know, pretty cool. And as you can see down here, there is a cooldown. So whenever you use an ability, you will see the number actually ticking down. But guys, that is only part of the update. There's so many things, but we are here to talk about the new weapons. And of course, we're starting out with my favorite one, the one that you guys are looking forward to the most, the new dagger. Elder's Brindled Fury. So this thing, I don't know how I feel about it yet. It's good. It is, but it's weird. It doesn't play like a normal dagger. So first off, let's look at the E. Obviously, the Q and the W are all the same from the normal game because they have not added a new one. But the E, so the E, slash enemies in a cone in front of you. So it is an AoE attack while jumping 8 meters back. Each enemy hit receives physical damage, and the damage height depends on the number of Sunder Armor or Assassin Spirit charges and consumes them. So similar to a Deathgiver E or a, Dagger Pair E or most of the Dagger E's, where when you use it, the stacks go away. But the one thing you may have noticed, it says you leap backwards. So let's watch that. Boom. So you're hitting this entire cone worth of people, and then you're leaping backwards as well. And it does a considerable amount of damage. Like, this obviously is tier 8 with max spec, but still, like, this is a lot. This is a lot of damage. Like, 0 charges is 400. Obviously, let's not even look at those ones. Let's look at the max charges, 1461. And it's going to hit multiple people. Plus, it is a disengage. So, and it's an iframe as well. We tested it out. If you are in your E animation of jumping backwards, you are immune to damage. So that is something really cool. I can't wait to actually use this weapon in game. But let's move on to the next weapon, which is the spear. It is one-handed, which is worth mentioning because you can wear an offhand, which of course there is 3 new offhands. We will get to those in a second. But the spear, the E, is charged towards a ground position. Enemies hit on the way have all buffs removed and receive 777 physical damage. While charging, you are immune to crowd control effects. With a 20 meter range and a... Oh, I shouldn't have eaten the omelet, but the cooldown is 20 seconds, but that's with a 7-3 omelet on, so it's about 25 seconds. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I like this one. So first off, the E is kind of slow. So we were testing this earlier on stream, me and Humperdinck, and the E is kind of hard to hit. Like, you see how slow it is? Like that, if it's at max range, that's an easily just sidestep. And imagine if they have like a blink or some other way. You're very rarely gonna see this one. I think this is one of the weaker ones. This is probably bottom 3 weak weapons in this upcoming patch. There is things like Impaler that obviously can slow down your opponent, so then you can maybe hit them with this. It is cool though, because it does remove, like, it is a purge, and it obviously is an AoE. It can hit multiple things, but I don't know. I don't think this one's gonna be used too much. So let's go ahead and move on to one that might actually be used quite a bit, and that is the axe. The axe actually seems amazing. So on its E, it says, jump and slam the axe into the ground, dealing 899 physical damage to enemies in a 4-meter radius impact area. Additionally, the slam breaks the earth open in a cone behind the impact area, and enemies hit by the cone are knocked into the air, and their max current energy is reduced by 50% for 8 seconds. And yeah, that might seem like it does a lot, and it does. It is actually really, really good. So here's what it looks like. You're slamming, and then you have this cone. Anything that gets hit in that cone, they get knocked up, and their energy is reduced by 50% for 8 seconds. Me and Humperdinck were using this to, like, we were testing out builds. I was just in a regular warbow, testing out the warbow nerfs, which, let me tell you, love that it got nerfed. But that energy reduction actually matters, especially if you're hitting multiple targets with it. Their energy reduction for 8 seconds, if they're already low on mana, they're not going to be able to use things. So this thing, I think, is actually going to be used. It actually might even make axes viable for PvP, because axes, in my opinion, have not been viable for a long time. So this is a really good step forward if you're an axe player, which I know many of you are, because many of you guys join my stream and say, like, give me a good build for axe. I'm sorry, there's not many until this thing comes out. Then I think it's going to be pretty cool. The only problem is the E is interruptible in midair, so yeah, I mean, that's a problem all axes have pretty much. But let's move on to the sword. This one was one of the most hyped ones when we saw the video on it, because it looks amazing. It looks so cool. Like, look at that model. That model, beautiful. So let's see what the E does. So, as we saw in that video, you swing the blade around you and knock enemies in a 6-meter radius around you into the air. While the enemies are in the air, you follow up with a vertical smash, dealing massive physical damage in a line behind and in front of you. The damage scales with heroic stacks and consumes them, like most swords. So this thing, at 3 stacks, gets up to 1,400 damage. And again, this is tier 8, so don't expect this damage, but I'm also not even max spec. So if you have more spec and, you know, you are wearing tier 8 equivalent, you can expect 1,400 damage, which is quite a bit. And it's also a knockup, which isn't bad, and it hits in front and behind you. So it's really cool, I think, that it can hit both ways. I don't think we have a weapon like that in Albion currently, where it hits 2 sides, like front and back. So I think this sword is going to be used, at least in the beginning. I don't know if it's going to be better than like a claymore, for instance, but I think there's going to be some use for it. Most of these weapons seem like they're going to be good in like 5v5s or potentially in like ZVZs and stuff. But this one, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to find its niche. I'm guessing 5v5s, but not too sure until it actually happens. All right, next up we have the quarterstaff. This thing is going to be amazing. So the E is slams the staff on the ground and hits enemies in a line in front of you. Enemies hit receive physical damage. The line leaves an area on the ground which lasts for 4 seconds, and the enemies who touch it stay rooted until the area vanishes. For the next 3 seconds, you can immediately use this ability one more time. However, if you use it twice in a row, the cooldown will last for 33 seconds. So the cooldown does go up if you use it twice. But this is insane. This weapon, here, let me show you guys the range. So it says 6 meters, but look at this. That's way more than 6 meters. I don't know why it says 6 meters in the tooltip. Range 6 meters? You're telling me that from me all the way to this thing is 6 meters? I don't think so. So I think the tooltip might be wrong, but this thing is insane. Insane. So you guys know, I'm sure most of you have fought against a regular quarterstaff before. Those things lock you down for so long. Imagine now that quarterstaff not only will lock you down for just as long, maybe a little bit less with the root, but it's ranged, can hit you from all the way over here, and hey, look, oh, gonna hit you again, and can hit your teammates. This can literally root a million people. Like, it can root. It's an AoE root that lasts a long time, does damage, and you can use it twice. So you can chain it back to back. Say you hit like a big clap. All right, gonna hit another big, like you hit a big stun, hit another big stun right away. And they're all just rooted there. This thing is going to be meta changing. This thing is one of the best weapons coming out of this patch. It is extremely, extremely good. And plus, you get the quarterstaff Qs and the quarterstaff Ws. Again, stun run, amazing. both of these, Concussive Blow and Cartwheel, both very good abilities. So you not only get the speed and the CC of a Quarterstaff, but you get this insane E ability. This is going to be one of the better Avalonian weapons coming out. So next in line, we have the Hammer, the Hand of Justice. So this one's pretty cool. I saw some people scrimming with it already. My boy Logic, if you guys know him, he's another streamer, and he is already testing these weapons in 5v5 scrims. And I saw him using this. This thing, it's, oh my god, I love it because it's kind of a meme. Like, using it on someone, it just looks so funny. I wish I had my partner here so I can show you it, but it basically, they're a pinball. And you're the bumper, and you're just bumping them around. It's really cool. So what the E says is that you charge toward a ground target while spinning the hammer around you, hitting enemies in a 3.5 meter radius while spinning. You continually pull enemies towards you, you stun them, and at the target destination, you slam the hammer on the ground, and you hit all enemies, dealing damage and knocking them into the air. So basically, this is air compressor on the maces, but mixed with like a ironclad E. Here, so I'll show you guys what it looks like. So here's the range of it. You can go pretty far, and anyone caught in this, it's pulling them towards you, and then you're pinballing them around you like this, and then at the end you hit them and knock them up, and there could be like someone there to clap or something, like if this is in a 5v5. This thing is going to be really good for 5s, for like crystals especially. Other than that, I don't know if it's going to see too much use, but definitely in 5s, this thing's going to be really, really good. It's such a meme. Like, definitely go look up footage of someone using this on someone. It is really, really funny to watch. All right, next, the dual maces. Looks super cool. I love the way these things look. They kind of look like maracas, so, but they are actually really strong as well. So the E says that it creates a blessed aura in front of you for 3 seconds. Allies who pass through get a shield that absorbs 3,300 damage, and their move speed is increased by 50% for 5 seconds. First off, if it ended there, that's already insane. But it doesn't end there. It gets better. Additionally, your maces will be blessed for 5 seconds. While blessed, every normal attack heals up to 5 allies in a 6 meter radius around you for 78. Boys, you thought the one-handed dagger E was good at healing you? This thing is a one-handed dagger E that heals everyone around you. And gives everyone who passes through this aura a shield. That's basic. So it's basically a Divine Staff E that does everybody. So it's an AoE Divine Staff that also increases move speed by 50% and gives you healing powers. What? This is insane. This is probably the best weapon coming out of this patch. This is so good. Here, I'm going to show you guys the aura. Look how long that is, too. It's not like everyone has to clump up and run through and like you're running through a choke. And even if you did, you still have extra 3,000 health. It's insane. This is going to be so good. This is extremely, extremely good. This is the best weapon coming out. I am almost positive of it. Maybe the healing sticks will be good. I don't really know healing too well, but this thing is going to be insane. Like, actually insane. So definitely watch out for this thing because it's going to be super, super good. All right, moving on to the bow. The bow seems so much fun. So the E, you get 4 attacks. You aim and shoot in a straight line, dealing a bunch of magical damage, and you can keep firing up to 4 times because you get 4 abilities, and this is the biggest part about it. Look at that range, 30 meters. Guys, that is off this screen. Here, let's actually equip it. And then, guys, so what I was using this with, the only issue I have with it is the cast time. So the cast time is half a second. So you can easily dodge it as like if they're just walking to the side, you have to lead them pretty well. As you can see, here's the cast time on it. You can see it's kind of long. Like, it takes a little while. But if you use this with a Morgana cape, it's instant. It flies across the screen instantly. So I think Morgana cape might be the cape to do these with. And if you have 2 or 3 of these, all of you with Morgana cape, you're literally just you're gonna melt anybody in your way. I think this might be the new meme comp. Take this into a 5v5 Hellgate, 5 people on this with Morgana cape, and you're just blasting. There's nothing they can do. 30-meter range and instantly shooting 4 shots. Yeah, they're done. They're just actually dead. Like, it's gonna be insane. This is one of my new favorites. Is it gonna be the strongest? I don't think so. But is it gonna be one of the memeiest? For sure. And you guys know I love a good meme. So I think this thing is gonna make its little impact being a meme, and I'm gonna have tons of fun playing it. All right, next up we have the crossbow. This thing, I think, was the first Avalonian weapon revealed. It looks so cool. So let's look at the E. Channel a beam, which follows the cursor position. Every 0.3 seconds, the beam deals 300 magical damage against players and 97 against creatures. Yeah, range 26 meters. So another big boy with the range. This thing looks really cool. So let's channel it. Look, you are off the screen with it. Look how far that goes. And it does a ton of damage. If you can consistently keep that E on them, you will chunk them for 4 bars of their health. It does so much damage. The only issue is, of course, it is a channel and you have to stand still while using it. But I think with the proper comp and maybe like a 2v2, even probably not a 5v5, but probably like a 2v2 comp with this thing, if you can build it right, this thing's going to do a lot of damage. So maybe it'll see 2v2s. Obviously, ZVZ implications here, doing a ton of damage to a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, that's the crossbow. Not really much to say. We basically already saw this one, but the range is extremely far. That's actually just off the screen. Like, that is insanely far range. But let's move on. Next one we have is the Curse Staff. The Curse Staff is really cool. So the Curse Staff, they did show this in a different dev talk. But basically, depending on who you cast this on, either your ally or yourself or an enemy, it's going to be 3 different effects. So Cloth Armor does like this big AoE, tons of damage effect. The Leather Armor does another AoE damage, but it's health steal. So like when you hit someone with it, they take damage, all the damage is put back to you. So you gain all that health back. And then Plate Armor does a slow. And then a ton of damage as well. One cool thing to note is it is one-handed, so you can use an offhand with it, which of course does make it much stronger. So any of the offhands you can use to buff it up, buff up the damage, buff up your own health, you know, whatever you need to use an offhand for, whatever you think is best. But I think this one's pretty interesting. So let's look at what the cloth one looks like. So it's this guy, pops out, this little like spirit Avalonian looking dude. And it does a huge AoE, does a ton of damage. If you're standing in that, you are hurting. So, yeah, I think this thing will be pretty cool. I don't know what people would use it on. Probably 5s, I would say. I think 5s is the best because you have Armor Piercer on 5s, which a lot of people use, and then your Curse Sickle, which a lot of people are using. So I think 5s, this is going to be really good. Other than that, maybe 2s would be okay. But yeah, I think 5s is probably the best spot for this thing. All right, next up, we have the Fire Staff. So this Fire Staff was kind of sort of accidentally, quote unquote, leaked in another dev talk when they were just showing a fight. And it is a big phoenix comes down and fights you, which is really, really cool. So it summons a flaming phoenix that burns the ground with its fiery breath. Enemies hit by the fiery breath receive 792 magic damage. The ground keeps burning for 6 seconds afterwards, and enemies inside the burning area receive 39 magic damage every half second and have their healing reduced by 40%, which is really cool. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be viable in ZVZ. Maybe it will. I'm not really a big ZVZer, but honestly, this is 100% the coolest animation. Look at this. So cool. So cool. Nothing like that in the game right now. So It's just extremely cool. It does a decent amount of damage, and as you guys saw, it's a pretty big AoE. Like, there's a big area that it's hitting. And then it also has that extra, which people that are standing in there will be burning and reduced healing. So I can see this definitely being used. I don't know in what capacity, but it's definitely not super weak. The only issue is the cooldown is very high. The cooldown is 40 seconds, base cooldown. So I don't know. Also, aiming it is a little weird. It's definitely going to take some getting used to, but yeah, I think the cooldown is a little bit high on it. But we'll see if people actually end up using it. All right, next, Frost Staff. Humperdinck's weapon of choice. However, I did talk to him, and he said he is not very impressed with this Frost Staff. So let's find out why. So the E says, can be cast on an enemy or an ally, including yourself. After the cast, a 6-meter radius appears, which slows enemies inside it by 20% for 3 seconds. And then when cast on an ally, the ally is immediately frozen inside the crystal. When cast on an enemy, the enemy is frozen inside the crystal after 1 second, if still in the slowing area. So while inside the crystal, the target can't do anything, but is also immune to damage and healing. So after 2 seconds, the crystal bursts into pieces, dealing 600 magical damage to enemies in a 7-meter radius. So it's kind of cool. It's like a kind of like a cleric cowl. Obviously a much shorter duration, but basically what a cleric cowl does. Except you can make your enemy's cleric cowl. So it goes like this. I can't move or do anything. And then it AoEs out, right? So that's kind of cool. It is a bit lackluster, so I am very interested to see if anyone can make a build with this thing work, or I don't know what niche this fills. Like, there's nothing, like, 1v1s, maybe? Like, the cooldown on the E is pretty short. It's only 25 seconds at the base, but I don't know. I don't know where this would fit. Doesn't seem like 1v1s, 2v2, maybe 2s. I don't see it. I don't see it. This is probably the worst weapon. Maybe second worst next to the spear. But again, this is also one-handed. So you can use some of the cool offhands to maybe make it a bit stronger. Not sure. I do think this is definitely bottom 3 though. So let's move on to the Arcane. So the Arcane looks pretty cool. There's also the new ability Mimic. Still not sure how I feel about Mimic, but can be pretty cool. But we're not here for the W abilities. We're here for the E's. And this E says, summons a dark sphere that hits 0.6 seconds after cast ends, dealing 344 magical damage and applying a dark aura to up to 5 enemies in a 5-meter ground impact. The dark aura lasts for 7 seconds. Any enemy inside the 5-meter radius aura is slowed by 20%. All their healing received is reduced by 15%, and their damage is reduced by 15% for players, and by 8% for mobs. If multiple auras overlap, the effect can stack up to 5 times. So I feel like this is a support player's wet dream. Like, support players, look at how many keywords you have on there. You have healing reduce, you have slow, you have damage reduce, you have that it can stack. So if there's multiple of you, it deals damage. It's an AoE. It can hit multiple targets. This thing also is in the running for coolest animation. I think Frost Staff or Fire Staff beats it, but it is definitely second coolest animation. Look at that. That's so cool. But yeah, I think this thing is definitely going to find use in all sorts of areas, in ZVZs, 5v5s. Well, probably just those 2 areas. It is very good as a support weapon. It is one of the best support weapons. Plus, you get the cool Arcane Q, which is an AoE that silences, which is pretty good. You get the W's, of course, which I don't know if Mimic's going to be super good, but there's other really good ones. There's like the Beam, of course. You can empower your teammates. So you could try to drop this on them, make it so they don't do much, and then you can beam up your Gala, and your Gala can go in and clap them. I don't know, but I do know that this will see some gameplay in ZVZs. It is definitely a good weapon for support roles. All right, next, the Holy Staff. You guys know I don't really like Holy Staffs, but this one doesn't seem too broken. One thing to note, though, Smite is now a Q ability, and Flash Heal has been removed and replaced for Holy Flash, which Holy Flash seems kind of good. Not gonna lie, it does seem kind of good. Here, I'll show you guys what it looks like really quick. So it's basically, it's an AoE, but look how fast that is. It's an AoE heal with, look at that radius. That radius is massive. So I don't know how much I like this, because it does seem very, very strong. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But we're not here for the Qs, we're here for the Es. And the E is pretty cool. So you jump towards a ground location. On the 5-meter radius impact area, you heal up to 10 allies for 286 and knock up enemies. Each ally healed increases your resistances by 52 for 7 seconds, and it stacks up to 3 times. So this is obviously not really meant for 2s. It's more meant for 5s with that E ability. Or even ZVZs. Don't know how good it's going to be in ZVZ, but it's pretty cool. You can see the range is pretty far. You jump and you slam, knocks enemies up, heals allies, and gives you resistance. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, not much to say. I don't really do healing, but it is one-handed, so you're going to have an offhand that you can use with it, which is also obviously a plus. Moving on, Nature Staff. So the Nature Staff is definitely the most interesting. Definitely the most interesting ability. So for the Nature Staff, it has multiple combinations. So you can target 2 allies, an ally and an enemy, or 2 enemies. So if you target 2 allies, the damage taken is shared between you guys, and also the healing is shared, which is really cool. Ally and enemy. So the ally will, 30% of the enemy healing is transferred to the ally. So you're stealing that healing away from them. And then 10% of the ally's damage received is transferred to the enemy. So that's, I mean, you're gaining their healing and dealing back their own damage to them, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, 2 enemies. So if you link 2 enemies, both of them take 50% of the damage. So if there's a tanky guy and a squishy guy, and you link them up, you can be attacking the tank, and it's still dealing the damage to the squishy, or vice versa, because if you're attacking the squishy, who has less resistances, it's dealing all that damage to the tank as well, but you don't have to go through his resistances. So it's going to be pretty interesting. I think it is very strong, but Nature Staff itself is not very strong. So we'll see if this E is enough to push Nature Staff back into the meta, because right now Nature Staff is not very much in the meta. Again, to note, it is a one-handed weapon, so there are offhands to play with it. Speaking of offhands, that is the last weapon, the Nature Staff. So let's look at the offhands real quick. So we have the Sacred Scepter. This offhand gives CC resistance. Yeah, I know, guys. It's pretty bad, right? Yeah, I agree. CC resistance? I don't know. There's not much to say other than I don't think this is going to be used at all. Like, actually at all. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But I really don't think it's going to be used. Let's move on to the shield. So the shield actually probably will be used. So defense versus players, 12%. Threat generation and ability cost reduction. So does this mean it costs more, right? Like, abilities cost more, so you do get a lot more defense, though, so it might replace Sarcophagus, but your abilities are going to cost more. So is it going to be good? Again, I don't know. Shields aren't really played at all, other than the Sarcophagus is played sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. Shields are kind of in a weird place because they're never used, other than Sarcophagus is used sometimes in, like, Fame Farm. But yeah, I don't know, guys. It's a shield. Like, what do you expect? And lastly, I think the most interesting one is the Celestial Sensor. So this is basically a crypt candle for healers. So instead of gaining damage, you gain healing. So you can heal more, but you also take more damage. So is it going to be worth it? I think so, because you're not always being the one getting attacked. You can also be healing someone else. So I think this is the only one out of these 3 offhands that'll actually be used regularly. But yeah, I think this actually makes healing a lot stronger. So I think people will use this. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, I'm not a healer. Don't have that much knowledge in healing. But I do think it is pretty cool. And I think it will be used. All right, guys. That is the end of the weapons and the offhands. But there is one more thing I do want to go over. And that is the new backpack slot item. It is called a Satchel of Insight. This is the only new backpack slot item, but it is super, super cool. So it has 2 abilities. One is active and one is inactive, basically. So the active ability, you increase your fame gained by 16.8%. This is for a flat 6, so obviously higher you go, the more you're going to get. But every extra point of fame you gain consumes 2 silver. So basically, it's called a Satchel of Insight. Basically, it's like having a Tome of Insight strapped to your back at all times. You're spending silver, but you're gaining more fame. So if you guys want a power level for kind of cheap, it's cheaper than Tomes of Insight, then yeah, this is definitely the way to go. Definitely the power leveler. If you turn it on inactive, it's just the same as a regular backpack. You just gain carry weight, and that is it. So I think this thing's going to be really cool. I definitely like that they're adding things to unused slots, because this is only ever a bag slot. So now you have this Satchel of Insight. That's cool. It mixes it up a little bit. But yeah, guys, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you're as excited for this new update as I am. These weapons are all super, super cool. Minus a Frost Staff. Sorry, Humperdinck. That is probably the worst weapon. But yeah, guys, tell me what you guys think about the new weapons. Which ones are you guys going to be trying out first? And I will see you in the next one. Stay soft, guys.